We're back. I'm here with Donna Newcomb. She is on the Chelmsford School Committee, and she is the secretary. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Wow. Well, welcome on.
Thank you very much.
So we had you on last year. You were running for school committee.
Yes.
First time, right?
Yes.
Well, give us kind of an update. How have things been going, and how have you enjoyed it so far?
I have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's been a lot of work. I think that if I, looking back on it, I realized that as much as I thought I knew about what might be involved in the school committee from my experience, being involved with the school committee or in the schools, I came to realize that I probably only realized a third of what really happens. And it's probably a good opportunity for me to thank everyone who has ever served on a board or committee and committed their time to that, because it's a lot of work, I think, that people don't realize. It's definitely worthwhile, but these people put in a lot of time and effort.
Oh, I bet. Now, are you responsible for reviewing all of the are they warrants or something to that effect?
Yes, we have to. So there's three of us on it at one time, and then we're responsible for going in and reviewing all of the purchases and signing off on them. So three school committee members' signatures are required for that, and so I might be on for 3 or 4 weeks, and then I'm off, and there's other people on. So.
Now, before you ran, I mean, I'll be honest with you, the school system was having some tumultuous fights. There were a number of issues happening. Since you've been elected, I think it's been relatively quiet, not to jinx you, but what has been the change? Like, what's the difference between when you were running and now? It seems like things have been running pretty smoothly for the most part.
Well, I think that everyone involved, even when things were difficult, was well intended. Okay, they all had the desire for an excellent education system, and having students be at the forefront of what it is that we do. And I think what happened really over the last years, I think we just, kind of refocused our efforts and began having more constructive dialogue, better lines of communication, and I think that this has contributed to maybe stabilizing things. But it was everybody. It was the teachers, it was the parents, it was the administration and the school committee. So I think it was a total team effort that really brought this about.
Now, what are the general discussions of the school committee? I mean, you guys were trying to work on improving curriculum. Like, what really is the meat of kind of your meetings?
Well, it varies. And, to echo something that Emily said is that it's a very time-consuming and at times tedious process. I think early on I was wishing that we were meeting every week. Maybe not so much now, but only because, you have a meeting and you discuss something, and then 2 weeks later, you have more things to discuss, but you have to follow up on what it is that you previously discussed in other meetings. So I think that what we talk about really changes. I think that obviously, we're looking at budget issues, we're looking at curriculum, we're looking at staffing. We have presentations from the various schools and committees that come in. That's probably one of my favorite parts because it's just absolutely terrific to see what the teachers and the kids are doing in the schools. So there's a lot of things that happen. I think that we're trying to stabilize, as I said, the system in some ways. And what I mean by that is, we've had to really take a look at the foundation upon which the system is built. And we had to get some things in place. So we've updated our policies. We've got an employee handbook in place, which we never had before. We've actually got a school committee handbook now in place. So I think it's taking care of some of these really basic things that's going to allow us to be able to build a much stronger and much more successful school system.
Oh, wow. So what are the handbooks? What's the general premise of them? How to conduct yourself, or?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, I think a lot of these things were obviously well known and practiced, but I think having it on paper and having it set a standard for practice for all of us, school committee, employees, administration, I think is a great way to begin the process of, as I said, adding these other layers that are going to help the school system to be successful and grow.
Now, I'm in real estate, so people are always asking me community to community, are Westford schools better than Chelmsford schools, better than Acton schools? I mean, how do you generally, not rank necessarily, but compare Chelmsford schools to our surrounding school systems? And is that something that you guys discuss as far as trying to better our school systems so that we can be either more competitive or offer more or do more than those schools can for their students?
But we are the best.
I like it.
Sure, but see, I think the thing is that you have to realize that there's a lot of variables. So let's take a look at Westford, for example, okay? We have about the same enrollment number, all right? But we have a higher percentage of students with disabilities. We have a higher percentage of students that are English language learners. We have a higher percentage of economically disadvantaged students. And we have a lower median income per household and an overall town-wide lower income level. They have 2 more schools than we do. We have 8, they have 10. And they get $6 million more from the state than Chelmsford does. So it's really hard, to do an apples to apples kind of comparison when there's so many variables that you have to take into account. I think that we continue to look at this, what is the product that we're turning out? We want to turn out well-rounded, well-educated, curious learners who are going to go on and continue to pursue whatever passion or type of employment that they've chosen, and to ultimately be contributing members to their community. So, I think that this is what we're always striving for. And I don't want to get too lost in making these comparisons because, we have to stay focused on Chelmsford. That's really our best bet, is to stay focused on Chelmsford and to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to provide the best education for our kids.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned those comparisons with Westford because they do get significantly more Chapter 70 funding than Chelmsford does. Is that something that we've kind of just given up on as a community at this point? Or?
Well, I think that, the focus, it hasn't really gone away. But I think that what the focus has been more is on the foundation budget and that reform, the foundation budget formula reform. And that has received a lot of attention over the last, probably since about 2015, 2014, somewhere in there. And I think that as more and more communities struggle to be able to provide the type of education that they would like to see their students have, we're going to hear more and more push towards the state level to do something about changing some of the things that need to be fixed. I mean, there's definitely special education costs have gone up, healthcare costs. I mean, there's just so many things that need to be addressed. How much will Chelmsford benefit? I don't know. If I had my way, we would wipe it all clean, start at 0, okay, and then figure out what everybody needs. I don't think that's going to happen because most people in government don't want to take money away from the towns that they're already serving. So the best I think that we can hope for is some adjustments. But I think the other thing that we need to do is we need to start thinking a little bit differently, okay? So for example, school choice monies has not gone up in a very long time. So I think that that's something that we should take a look at. With the School Building Association, I think they have an accelerator fund for roofs, windows, heating, things like that. I think we should add technology and school safety into that as well. And the accelerator project is different than the core project, which would be your overall buildings. And I think that we should think about maybe, because I think that we have many buildings throughout the state that are aging, looking at increasing the percentage of reimbursement for each town. So I think we have to, like I said, I think we keep on focusing on Chapter 70 foundation, but I think there's other things that can be done in the meantime that we should really take a look at as well.
Yeah. Do you see student enrollment in Chelmsford going up? Is it on the incline?
So right now at the high school it's dropping a little bit, but the elementary school is increasing. So, it's going to go in waves as it typically has. So I think that, it's something we definitely keep an eye on, making sure that we have the appropriate staffing and facilities in place in order to be able to address that.
Yeah. So you oversee Dr. Lang, obviously your first year. What have your experiences been with him, and do you see room for improvement?
Oh, sure. I think there's room for improvement from all of us, to be perfectly honest with you. It's only been my first year. I still feel like have a lot to learn. As far as working with Dr. Lang is concerned, I think he's been very responsive to the things that we've asked him to make some improvements on. I think that his communication is definitely improving. I think his proactivity is improving. I think the budget is in really great shape. I don't know if you've seen the proposed budget, but I think there's something in there for everyone. And I'm very pleased with that. I think that there are some issues that we need to address. I think, again, going back to the school building issues, I think we have to figure out what our plan is going to be if we do not receive funding from the School Building Association. I think we have to take a look at classroom size. I think we have to take a look at, for example, we use a guideline of approximately 22 to 24 kids, but I think we also need to look a little deeper into what is the percentage of students on IEPs in a class, what is the percentage of English language learners or other issues, because teachers are having to deal with these things day in and day out, and we want to make sure that we give them the resources and the tools in order to be able to do that. So I think that we need to continue to work on those things, and I think that he's very amenable to doing that.
Yeah. You bring up a good point. So, at charter schools, they're great. They provide a level of innovation, and they can obviously create a different learning environment. But do you feel like the public schools kind of get a short stick in the fact that they have to educate all students across the board? Is there really kind of disparity there on the fact that we have to take in all students on a public level, but a charter school isn't necessarily in that same capacity?
Well, I think that charter schools, play an important role. And I think we have to recognize that one size does not fit all. And so students deserve the opportunity to be able to have an education setting in which they can be successful, that's going to be able to meet their needs. Do I feel like we get shortchanged? I don't know that I necessarily feel that way. I can certainly understand the argument for that, but I also feel that our mission is different, and that is to provide a free and appropriate public education for any child that comes through the doors.
But if you take a cost per pupil and you literally take that out and hand it dollar for dollar to a charter school, the overall cost of educating students, especially if somebody has an IEP or some sort of other need that they have, sometimes it doesn't necessarily translate out exactly the same.
No, it doesn't. And I think these are the things that we need to continue to work with the state on, is making sure that they understand, the difference, okay, in terms of what a charter school is willing to provide and what the public schools are obligated to provide.
Now, do you see a new high school at all in the future?
Great question. I have absolutely no idea. And the reason I say that is I don't know who applied already. And I can tell you that the people that applied previously and were selected were in dire need of a new building. So I think it's going to depend on who's applying and what the need is. Our building is aging. I think the facilities people have done a really terrific job, as the school department has, in terms of maintaining these buildings. We've made the most of these accelerator grants in order to be able to replace windows, and I think we're doing the roof on South Row soon, or at least part of it. So I think that we're doing a good job maintaining. But at some point, we have to make the decision. What comes next, and I think that. I'm glad that we did the comprehensive facilities assessment. I'm glad that we had the visioning sessions. I think we have some idea of what our needs are, and I think we have some idea of what the town's needs are and what the townspeople or taxpayers might want to.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Any other last thoughts before we let you go?
No, I would like to echo what Emily said. I think it's very important for people to get involved. I think it is hard when you have small children, and I only speak from experience, but my kids are grown now, and this is one of the reasons why I made the decision to run for school committee. But being involved in the PTOs, helping out in the schools, the council of schools, and all those other things were very, very, very meaningful. A great opportunity for me to be involved with my kids, and I felt really enriched our lives and hopefully the schools that we were a part of.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate all your service.
Thank you.
And certainly we'll have you back on, give us an update in a little while. And
Great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.